And you know what? I bet 99.9999276.4% of you would still hit. Thank you to our $5 patrons, Strawbones, Weather4765, Midnight Gemlord, Sean, and Artgoon. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Alex Ice Rose. Now, here on this breakdown / review of chapter 94 of Four Knights of the... Please remember to leave your own notes on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You support as low as $1 month. The links to videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into last week's poll. So, last week I ended up asking y'all, out of 4 characters, who did you think was going to be the most useful in supporting the Holy Knights of Calamity, the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, in this upcoming battle that is about to go down between the forces of Camelot and the forces of the Four Knights? And I gave you 4 options. Nasiens, the Poison Lord, Donny, the World Warper, Iso, the Love Bomb, and the Call of Truth. And with an overwhelming, girthy, if you will, 58% of the vote, the GOAT, Nasiens the Poison Lord, took it. And yeah, honestly, out of the entire subcast that we have, the only person whose like niche ability is so good that they're actually cracked alongside Nasiens is Chion. But I didn't want to include Chion, because Chion's ugly. He's stupid, and he's dumb. So in comparison, I definitely see Nasiens being the most useful. Wither, debuffing, amping himself, amping other people, debuffing enemy. Like, come on now, Nasiens is kind of cracked. Give this man a few more gains, and he'd probably solo the verse. Meanwhile, I can definitely understand why Donny came in next. Like, sure, I do believe that every single one of the other knights either A, has a form of telekinesis, or B, doesn't need it, and or secret option C, they have a knockoff version of it that's just as good. But still, Donny coming in second place as the World Warper makes sense because, well, he can warp worlds. Nah, but telekinesis is a really good ability, especially in a series like Four Knights where projectiles are thrown around left and right. So the ability to misdirect them, misdirect people, throw people around, that's really, really good. I can understand why he came in second. Number 3, the Call of Truth, and I get it, especially in this very specific scenario. The ability to sense magic is kind of off right now, so the ability to see who's lying, who's truthing, all that would be very, very valuable. So, and coming in third place with their ability to see the truth of people is very, very useful. I can definitely see why I ended up coming in third, and I may or may not have set her up for failure here, mainly because, like, her ability is the only one that feels like it doesn't necessarily have much niche use, because it's just power. But every other knight is stronger than her, so there's no point in her power. Meanwhile, every other person can be useful on their own, like she can be, or useful in specific contexts, which I'm not exactly sure she can do with her magic in most circumstances. Even Anne can have more utility in the current scenario than Isolde, despite Isolde arguably being stronger, which is crazy to think about, but, you know, sometimes power isn't everything. It just usually is. So, thank you guys so much for participating in last week's poll. All 406 of you. Make sure you get your input in on tomorrow's poll, dropping at 12 p.m. to make sure your input is included for next week's review. Now, let's hop into Chapter 94. What's up, guys? I'm the Punster, and here we are to do a review of Chapter 94 of Four Knights of the... which is known as... An Incident on the Night of Prayer. And, you know, overall, this chapter was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting in more ways than one. So let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. So we open up on this shot of logs, specifically some torches of some kind. And we see all these people lined up, and they're all coming to this one particular pyre to light said torches. And these torches are being handed out to all the people in line, and Percy actually gets one. He says, or the big burly man says, "Here you go. It's dangerous, so be careful. That's a cool cape and helmet you got there." And obviously, he's referring to Varghese' cape and helmet. And the chapter even opened up with a cover page of Varghese and Percy. And man, like, I don't really care. No, that's bad. I'm joking. For a character that was only around for one chapter and sort of just retroactively appearing, Nakoba did a very good job of making me care about Varghese, especially how Percy cares about Varghese. He's a constant thought on Percy's mind, and I think that's really, really good. And of course, we see that the whole squad does in fact now have torches. It is indeed lit. Do kids still say that these days? Am I too old? Am I out of the cultural zeitgeist? Do kids still say lit? I don't know. Tell me down below. But regardless, we do get to see the whole crew is set up and stacked. Nasiens actually, I know it's just because of the lighting that's caused by the torch, but he actually looks mad ominous with his hat, like, shading out the top part of his face. Donny looks so stupidly happy. Like, you know he's going to burn something down to the ground. By pure accident. He's not going to do it on purpose, but something's going to get lit on fire. And is the only one out of the group that looks genuinely competent with it, which is kind of... Well, no, Nasiens looks competent with it too. He knows, hold it far away, hold it above. But the fire's so close to his hat that I wouldn't be shocked if a strong wind blew by, he'd catch his hat on fire. So Anne is the other one who seems 100% safe. And Isol's in the back, hunting, looking, fiending, and itching for Big Papa Tristan, who is... He's getting in where he can fit in, if you know what I'm saying. But regardless, we do get to see that Donny, in his idiocy, swings around the torch back and forth. Like, I don't know. I was taught fire safety when I was young. And, like, this time is before... But then again, I guess in this time period, fire safety wouldn't really matter. If everyone has magical powers, there's probably going to be some guy with a water power that can put out a fire. But even still, like, Donners, you have long hair, dog. Do you really want to get toasted like that? Like, you may want to get toasted. You may be toasted all the time. But regardless, you don't want to light yourself on actual fire. You're swinging it around. And we see Percy's doing even crazier things with his fire. At least Donnie's just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, throw it back and forth, throw it back and forth. Meanwhile, Percy, he's hitting the rotation on it. He's spinning. He really is Nechi right now. And I'm impressed. I'm mainly impressed that the spear isn't scraping against the ground, because Percy's is extremely short. But with that being the case, we see that Donnie's like, it's the Festival of the Dead time. Let's go hard on this. And it's a joke of something I can't say. Just read what the translator said. Yeah, it's a meat joke. It's a meat joke. And you know, Nakoba, it's so strange. Like, I gotta remind myself, this guy writes peak. Like legitimately, he wrote Mael. He wrote Mael and Mael's entire character. So the man can write peak. He made Escanor and Escanor's entire character. He can write peak, but he is not above. He does not transcend, no matter how much peak he can write. He does not transcend the occasional meat joke. And, you know, I believe the best of the best know that they can never transcend the occasional meat joke. So I'm not even mad at Nakoba. I'm even impressed. However, we do get to see that as Percy is pondering the power of the meat, he's like, wait a minute. What are all these people? It's so lit around here. What's going on? Everyone's lit up, but they all seem down. What's going on here? And we see that we cut away to Tristan and Madrigal. And Tristan goes on to say, when you addressed me as the prince the first time we met, I felt a sense of unease. I didn't alert anyone of my coming here, and unless he was a spy, it's hard to imagine the innkeeper would go out of his way to reveal a roommate's identity. Dare I say, you knew me to begin with. You're a human from Camelot, aren't you? And, like, Tristan, dog, like, if you thought that, why? Like, I get it. Brody is strong. Brody does have gains. But the main gains you got, you don't even have control over yet. Like, your final resort involves massive amounts of destruction and a shining road. And the streets are too narrow for that, dog. You needed help. You don't isolate yourself, especially when all your friends were right there. Like, dog, I get it. Maybe you don't want to put him at risk, but you're never putting Lance at risk. If anything, Lance is putting you at risk whenever he travels with you. So you should have at least called Lance, especially in a scenario like this where you cannot sense magical powers. You do not know how strong this woman is. So, and you're chilling in base. It could be one thing if Tristan came here, lit up the torch, and activated at least Triskelion. Like, he was a little bit prepared that if he had to throw fisticuffs, he would be ready somewhat. Spawn a wing or two. Like, do something. But no, dog. Instead of being prepared, using the resources that you have and your super dumb, stupid, broken, dumb friend and Lancelot, and or activating any of your magical abilities at all, so you can at least be prepared for a little bit of a battle. No, you're walking around telling this woman that you know she's dangerous, you know that this is a risk, and you know that you're hypothetically putting yourself at extreme risk in base. In base. You aren't Meliodas, dog. You don't just got that dog in you like that. Your base form, has it done anything? Like, what? I mean, he lunged at Meligon on base one time. But, like, every single fight you've been in, you know your base isn't enough. You always at least activate Triskelion. Sometimes that demon might be popping out. So, dog, what are you... Like, I'm not saying that it's 100% out of character, or I'm not saying that it's, like, 100% dumb. Dude's 16. Obviously, he's very new to combat still. Even though we have Grudge of Edinburgh, it doesn't necessarily mean bro suddenly is a wizened battle fiend or something like that. But at the same time, dog, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of situational awareness, especially if you think she's from Camelot. Like, that's the thing. If you think this is one of your top ops revealing themselves to you and asking you to isolate yourself from all your other resources, should you really do that? While walking around in your canonically weakest state? Like, dog, like, think a little bit. Like, rub at least 2 brain cells together. You may have like 5. Don't use all 5 of them. Rub 2 of them together and really think about the scenario you're throwing yourself in. However, regardless of that, Tristan has made his choice and he has obviously asked his question. And we see that Madrigal actually reveals that Madrigal is not her real name, which makes me wonder why Nakaba called her Madrigal at the end of the chapter. I'm not even sure she was ever introduced as Madrigal. Like, she doesn't have a name like that. So, unless Madrigal is something else, and it was just like a red herring, she says that I am Eladio Wellwager. Io is fine. Now, don't get me wrong. This is just the Greek freak in me. I'm not Giannis, never mind. But this is just the little bit of Greek mythology that I still remember. Isn't it the name of a cow? Or no, it was a woman who, got Zeused, as many did in Greek mythology. It was a woman who got Zeused, and then Zeus, in an attempt to not tell anybody that he got Zeused, turned Io into a cow when Hera showed up. And then Hera, like, there's a whole situation with Argus, and that's how Hermes got the epithet Argus Slayer. Like, there's a whole story behind it. And then she's like the ancestor to somebody important. Was she the ancestor to Perseus? I think something along those lines, Perseus or Hercules, something like that. So I wonder if this is going to be a reference, because we know Nakaba isn't afraid to just throw in other mythologies. Like, the primary base of Four Knights and Seven Deadly Sins is clearly Arthurian mythology, but we've had tons of Greek, Roman, Norse. I think I'm trying to think, there's another one that was a reference to, like, the mobile game literally has Ragnarok in it, I'm pretty sure. That's how much that Naga was unafraid to throw in other mythos, is just to jack us up so we can't predict everything. So Io, in particular, is a very interesting thing, especially with the reveal at the end of this chapter. I wonder if she always was what she is revealed to be, or if it's a situation similar to Io from Greek mythology, and she was put this way, for reasons not her consent. That was a weird sentence. She was made this way without the consent of being made this way, which would be pretty rough. I wonder. However, with this introduction, Io reveals that she's actually pretty knowledgeable about the Festival of the Dead. We see that she says, "Did you know, Your Highness, this festival, it began as a way to memorialize those who lost their lives in the attacks on Leonis from other countries' bandits and scoundrels." Interesting. I thought Walnock was just like a separate town that was associated with Leonis and stuff like that, but not actually a subsidiary of Leonis. But if the people here celebrated the Festival of the Dead specifically for attacks on Leonis and not Walnock, I guess Walnock is literally just a subsidiary. I thought it was just a separate trading hub. But no, it appears to be under the direct control and loyalty to Leonis, which is very, very interesting. Once again, Nakaba showing us that he's really caring a lot about world building more and more. Like, Britannia as good as it was in the world of Seven Deadly Sins it was much more on a quantity rather than quality front. We learned a lot about the many different realms, but we didn't necessarily get into the nitty gritty, the details, the cultures, the ideas. Like, you can infer a lot of it based on how certain characters act and speak, which is still good world building, don't get me wrong, but like specifically going out of your way to explain traditions and stuff like that, that's also very, very interesting. And I like it. I like the way that Nakaba is deciding to take Four Knights in a much more slow-paced, exploratory kind of fashion, because we have so much to explore now. And unless Naga wants to introduce like 5 more realms, I don't think we're going to do that anymore. So that means we're going to have to expand on what we have, and I like the expansion here. And we see that Tristan reveals that he actually did know that. And in fact, he explains, I know. But now, most come to pray for their families, friends, and loved ones who lost their lives in the Holy War 16 years ago, so they don't forget the departed. And that's interesting. One thing I do like, even if I do have mixed opinions on it. Actually, no, I don't think I do. I think I just flat like it. I said I had mixed opinions, but now I'm thinking about it. No, I don't. I like how the Holy War is truly impactful. It is truly something that happened, and everyone has to deal with it. Young, old, human, demon, goddess, fairy, giant of all ages. The Holy War impacted a whole bunch of people, as it should have. You know, it was a massive countrywide war between multiple different species of insane levels of power. Something like that doesn't just happen and disappear. Look at our real world. Wars that happened hundreds of years ago still directly impact a lot of people in the modern day. Not to talk of a war that would have happened 16 years ago, which still has massive ramifications. So it makes sense that a war of this scale, of this volume, of this magnitude would be so important. That it would have these shifts in culture, it would cause things like that. Because it's only natural. The amount of damage and destruction that was caused would naturally have massive repercussions. And I like that Nakaba was going out of his way to stick to it. It's not something that is lightly being hinted at. It's not something that's being gingerly stepped and tiptoed around because, you know, well, the good guys won, so that means the war must have been good, right? No, it is a hard, tough, dirty thing that Nagaba's not afraid to show is hard, tough, and dirty. That's what he does now, and I really, really like it. And we do see that Madrigal, or Io now, says, what a lovely custom. Not an idea you'd find in my hometown. Very interesting that she mentions that. She doesn't say home realm. Though she reveals herself to be something else at the end of this chapter, she does say hometown. So, stroking the beard a little bit, wondering. I mean, it's entirely possible that the demon world, or whatever she is, does just have towns. It's just that, once again, due to a lack of world building in the original series, I know the demon realm is kind of like one big old place. I've no real specifics for any of its locations, so a hometown would be interesting. And we do get to see that the two actually end up isolating themselves further down a specific alley. And I keep saying Madrigal because she was locked into my head as Madrigal, so it's going to take me a while to just start calling her Io. Io walks down a specific alley with Tristan, separate from all the other lights. You can very specifically see it on this page. They walk down this one particular dark alley, and she says, for now, let's just pray together to the souls and memories of those who were lost. Very interesting. Prayer is an interesting concept to me in the Seven Deadly Sins world, because we do have legitimate deities that these guys should know of, maybe. The thing is, most of them are either in human vessels or dead. The Supreme Deity and Demon King just don't exist anymore. They do not. They're not doing the breathing. The Goddess Clan, for the most part, is what they most likely praying to, because we see even Dolores consistently prays to them, and she's a nun of the Giant Clan. And she still prays to the Goddess Clan, so I'm assuming they're praying to them. And considering we know that goddesses do seem to have some sort of higher level manipulation of the soul and reincarnation, we know that Mael has the spell that he used on Derriere and Oslo, that they kept their memories from the previous life when they incarnated into their new ones, which is why I think Thetis, the lookalike to Derriere, does have all of Derriere's memories, and that's why she reacted in the very specific way to Melaskil and Galland, or Meligaland's corpse when she saw them. And also we know that Arc can just erase your soul. Demons can erase your soul from the cycle of reincarnation by just and eating it. They can just do that. But goddesses, if they hit you with Arc hard enough and you're not strong enough, your soul just gets gone. So the higher level that these goddesses have when it comes to souls and reincarnation, it makes sense why the humans would pray to them specifically, because They literally do have some sort of control over it. The highest level? No, I don't think so. I don't think goddesses have any control over purgatory or the capital of the dead or who gets sent where. I do think that is just an automatic process, though there is another mention of something very interesting in this chapter later on that we'll talk about even more when it goes to all the religious stuff within Seven Deadly Sins. And it's literally the next page, because we cut back to our cast of characters and we see that Donny is praying to his mom. He's like, "Mom, I got to be a holy knight. I hope you're proud." And man, once again, Nakaba is such, like, in comparison to a lot of his contemporaries, I'd say Nakaba's definitely up there. Maybe like top 3, top 5 if I'm lowballing him, in terms of my favorite just character writing. And in terms of like flipping characters on their heads, either immediately, slowly, or long term. If you were to take me back, I want to go there, take me to, like literally take me back to chapter 2 when we first got introduced to Donny, and you tell me that I would be loving this character so much because he's a lovable goofball that happens to really love his mom and really want to do the right thing even though he's scared to do it. And he would be praying to his dead mother over the fact that he happily became a holy knight and is going to go out and save the world. Gosh darn, Nakaba. We haven't even hit 100 chapters yet, and Donnie's still one of my favorite characters from this anthology. Like, this is going to sound bad. I think I like him more than I like Merlin, which is crazy to say considering Merlin is a titular character and Donnie's a side character. But still, that's how good Nakaba's writing has been with Donny. Super excited. I'm really interested. The thing is, he's done such a good job with all these characters so far that I don't want any of them to go except for Chion. I'm warming up to Jade, slowly but surely. And I know Isolde and Anne aren't going anywhere. But like both Donny and Nasiens, they seem like the most expendable. And I don't want them to go because they're two of my favorites. Like, I may do a whole ranking of like the current main cast now that we have all 11 of them, and I don't see any additions happening to that anytime soon. I'll probably do a ranking video talking about all of them individually and comparing them to each other and how much I like them. But if I had to just go off the top of my head, I'm assuming Donnie's up there, like pretty highly up there, just because how good he is. Same thing with Anne. Anne is a character who I've been kind of back and forth on, like bobbing and weaving. It's crazy to think that she was introduced over 2 years ago at this point, because she was introduced around chapter 16, I do believe. But she's another character who also happens to have a dead mother, which is weird now that I think about it. Something about moms. Nakaba does not like moms. Something's going to happen to Elizabeth because Nakaba has a horrible track record when it comes to mothers. But we also have her, a character who, on her introduction, really, really cool. And I'm going to rank the Four Knights introductions, or not the main cast introductions too. I think that's something I want to talk about. But Anne had a really good introduction. She had a really solid fight with Ironside. And sure, I do believe that she is like fundamentally the most useless out of the side cast because of her ability not being that good in combat. But even still, character wise, she's gone through a lot, she's developed a lot, she's had a lot of character time on screen, and I really, really like it. And it's so interesting how she brings up a concept that makes me wonder. She mentions heaven, like capital H heaven. Now here's the thing, right? Afterlives and Seven Deadly Sins exist. Like, we know it for a fact. We have 2 of them. We have the capital of the dead and we have purgatory, which, despite their naming conventions, the capital of the dead is essentially, I'm assuming, the heaven equivalent. Just based on how it's portrayed, it's a peaceful realm where the dead just linger for eternity. So I'm assuming that's one. And purgatory, despite, purgatory being a thing, purgatorio, that's usually, I think that may just be in Bayonetta. I'm not sure why I said it like that. But regardless, with that being a thing, it's actually more so like the HE double hockey sticks equivalent in terms of like specific realms. If we had to do comparison, despite purgatory being typically codified as something that's more like a neutral, just like an absolute neutral void. But even then, I'd say the capital of the dead kind of fits that more, because like it's not like people do things in the capital of the dead. Like Elaine, all she did was watch closely as Bond did his thing, and unless that's supposed to be heaven, I'm not sure. But it's interesting that heaven exists. Once again, I'm going way too deep into words. I'm like 99.9% sure Nakaba just dropped it because everyone knows what heaven is. Or I think most people do. So maybe it's not another realm, but this is Seven Deadly Sins, where we have 7 different realms at this point: mortal, demon, celestial, fairy, purgatory, capital of the dead, and the world beyond. We have 7 different realms right now. Another realm being heaven would not shock me. Like, a lot of people make direct comparisons. They say, well, if it's not supposed to be the capital of the dead, and it's obviously not supposed to be purgatory, then the celestial realm is supposed to be heaven, right? Because, you know, you don't have to think too hard about what the demon king is supposed to be equivocated to if you were to go by common religions. And you don't have to think too hard about what the supreme deity is supposed to be associated with if you go by most common religions. But with that being the case, I never equivocated those, because people usually equivocate it for scaling. Oh, it has to be a universal sized realm because it's holding all these people. No, I don't think so. But now the idea that heaven does exist, I don't know. Is it a separate realm? Is there like a big G in this world? Because I would say it's Chaos, but Chaos is a weirdo who came from a clan of some sort, or came from somewhere in space. Who made the actual verse? Like, we know the verse we know of as Seven Deadly Sins in terms of like Britannia and its Earth. Yeah, that was made by Chaos. But like, who made the verse? What happens when Chaos dies? If it can die, who knows? Like, maybe it can't. But when Chaos decides to leave the world, where does it go? Who made it? Where did it come from? So many different questions. However, and that's mainly just because Ann says heaven. Like, I don't know why my brain I had a brain blast moment. I was like, what? like that's what my brain did when I read that. However, you know, it could just be nothing, right? Just like I may have looked way too deep into the word Nephilim, I may just be looking way too deep into the word heaven. So tell me what you guys think. Do you think there's just like an actual 8th realm known as heaven? And if so, do you think there's a 9th realm, which would be the HE double hockey sticks equivalent? Or do you think that it's just like generally alluding to things that we may have already seen, like the capital of the dead, like purgatory, stuff like that? Let me know. However, we do get to see that the sad train keeps on going, because Percy's like, Grandpa, I'm doing just fine, so don't worry about me. And darn it, like, this is a character that I had one solid chapter with before he got packed. And you can go back. You can go back in time, back to reality, into chapter 1. And you can see my reaction was very deadpan. Like, I was like, oh, shoot. He got packed. He got rolled up, and Ironside lit that boy up. Like, golly gee willikers. But I don't know, just in retrospect. And notably, I'm definitely the kind of guy that says, hey, don't try to make me sad for your character death in retrospect, because I won't. But darn, I think it's because it's such an active part of Percy's character that, like, seeing this image of Varghese in the torch is so... It hits different. It hits different. Like, I really hope we get a Chaos Varghese. Like, I know that sounds bad. I know it would be awful for Arthur to go out of his way and, like, defile the corpses of these characters and turn them into walking, breathing, loyal husks of his. But at the same time, I want Chaos Varghese. I want Chaos Escanor. I want him to pack up Meliodas and Elizabeth and then make a Meliodas and Elizabeth Chaos variations. I want Bon gone, only to be revived really as Bon the Undead, and have Lancelot fight him. Same thing with the Lane. Same thing with King and Diane's kids. I want them to fight Chaos versions of their... And, like, notably, that requires, like, all my favorite characters from the previous series getting lit up and put in a pack that Arthur decides to light up and throw at the kids. But, you know, sacrifices have to be made. You know what I'm saying? But regardless of that, we do get to see that it's not just Percy praying to his grandfather, but he's also telling him how thankful he is to have his friends, precious friends who he trusts with his life and heart to live with. And, like... Once again, I am 99.999999987235564.2. Yeah, I know I put 2 decimals in there and that automatically breaks the calculator, but ignore me. But with that being the case, there's no way all these characters are going to make it to the end. Specifically out of the Percy platoon. Maybe the Tristan platoon, maybe we got to get more build up to them, but there's no way they're all... I'm definitely thinking at least 2 of them are getting packed. Like, I think Anne's safe. I think she's 100% safe. Like, she hit the base, she got the home run, all that's good, whatever. But Donny and Nasiens, one of them's got to go, and I'm feeling it's Nasiens. I don't know why. At the back of my mind, you die. I'm sorry, I don't know why. I've been listening to so much music recently that it's kind of just flowing over. But regardless, there's no way, because it's too, like, it's sounding too nice. It's sounding too good. Like, yes, I have these friends that I love and would do anything for, and it would be a shame if any of them were to perish for my character development. But I know I'm such a good boy that would be so easy to break because I love my friends so much. I know nothing bad could ever happen to me. Like, dog, Dog, there's no way they're all making it to the end of the series. I'm not going to be reading chapter 457, the final chapter of Fourknightsoftheapocalypse, the Apocalypse, and Percy's going to be standing there shucking and jiving with all of his 23-year-old friend. No, someone's got to go. If Nakaba doesn't take one of them out by the end of the series, I will eat a sock. I will eat a sock if one of them does not go by the end of the series. At least one of them. I will get a sock. I don't care. It doesn't have to be edible. I will suffer for multiple days. I will eat a sock if not a single one of these characters goes by the end of the series. If everyone's alive, that would be the biggest plot twist of them all. Forget Mael, forget Esterosa, forget Merlin not being real, forget Arthur being a terrible person. All those twists would be nothing in comparison to all these characters of making it to the end of the series. I'm telling you, someone's got to go. However, with that being the case, we do get to see that Percival actually realizes something. He's like, hold on a second. I prayed, Anne prayed, Donny prayed. We're all good, pious individuals. Hey, yo, Nasiens, what the heck, dog? You're not going to pray? And we see that Nasiens is like, hey, let me level with you real quick, dog. I legit don't have any dead homies. Like, no one's... And that's another reason why I think Nasiens has got to go. If he doesn't have any dead homies, if he doesn't have any connections, and Nakaba really doesn't decide to take this plot... Because the thing is, right? There's so many questions up in the air. Because Nasiens straight up says, no, I'm lucky enough that no one close to me has died. Yet. He doesn't say died. He says yet. He can smell it's coming. I think it's going to be you, Nasiens. Because the thing is, right, there is the alternate plot line. There is a way to take it. There are two ways that Nasiens could go down. One, he could get the Last Jedi approach, where his parents are nobodies. Because notably, he brings up, I don't know if my birth parents are still alive, but I don't have any special feelings towards them. So, Nasiens' birth parents are a mystery. They could just be an unsolved mystery. They could be just like the wife of the Demon King and the husband of the Supreme Deity. They could just not matter at the same time, and we never learn anything about them. Wouldn't be the first time Nakaba's done something like that. It would not be the first time. Or there's someone important. We could get the Last Jedi approach, or we could get the the Rise of Skywalker approach, where in reality, Nasiens' parents are extremely important, and it's just been hidden from us for all this time. The one I'm more excited for is the latter. I think it would be more interesting if Nasiens' parents ended up being something important. But at the same time, just for like off-screen value, not off-screen value, getting rid of the character value, I think it's better if he doesn't have any ties to anyone. If all of his life and love is really truly directed at Percy and his friends. Because then when he goes, it would be all the more tragic. Because they're literally his world. They're his everything. And he's literally being taken away from them. So... I don't know. This is I'm very iffy on whether or not I want Nasiens to be somebody or be nobody and only be somebody to his friends. Massive 50-50. Massive 50-50. I can see the benefits of both sides, so I'm hesitant to really get definitive, but we'll see. However, we do get to see that we cannot have any more character development or any more interpersonal character time because Chion is here and Chion sucks. I don't know. Like... Chion as a character, I think Isolde is still my least favorite just because there hasn't been enough of her. But Chion is a character who once introduced, I thought was going to be like so much more mysteriously interesting. But now he's just meat riding too hard. Like legitimately, he's doing pogo sticks on it. Like he's literally treating it like a pogo stick, bouncing up and down on it. Like legitimately, dog, relax. And admittedly, this is the guy, me, who's like, yeah, Tristan, you should have taken somebody, but Chion, what good are you going to do? What real good are you going to do? And the thing is, why didn't you follow them? I mean, I get it. You had to fix the door, but you could have left Isolde. One of you could have stayed to fix the door. If you were so worried about Tristan, one of you should have immediately gone for it. Isolde, though, should have just stayed to fix the door. Because she was the one who kicked it down. So Isolde should have stayed, and you should have followed Chion. You're the terrible person. You're going to let your cousin get spread open by it. I'm sorry. But that's the thing, Chion, I get why you're mad at everyone else for like letting Tristan wander off, but at the same time, you let Tristan wander off. Instead of yelling at them, maybe you should have followed. However, we do get to see at Isolde. Okay, you know what? Jade's the favorite. Jade is the favorite. Wow, this is such a quick turn. My neck legitimately hurts from the whiplash of Jade. How did bro go from the most nothing, my least favorite character, to top the current cast, like top 8. I can't put it much higher, but still, the way The way he looks at Isolde with a sweat drop as she screams, Sir Tristan went out with the festival. Went out with the festival. Have you ever tried going out with the whole festival? No, Sir Tristan went out to the festival. Pencil, you can read, can't you? You're literate, aren't you? Sir Tristan went out to the festival with the woman he bunked with. If something happens, it'll be too late. Help us. Like, Jade just looks so disinvested. Like, he's looking at Isolde like, wow. I really lost to a Nephilim. How's the thing go? It took, what, I forget how that meme goes. Something like, it took me 3 years. 3 years it took me. Nephilim did it in 1 week. Took me 3 years. 3 years of dedication. Nephilim did it in 1 week. Like, that's what it reminds me of with Jade. Bro struggled so hard and he isn't succeeding for anything. However, we do get to see that Donny, the ballistic, like, despite how ballistically down bad Donny is, Gawain is still worse. Gawain is still worse, and it's not even a competition. That's how bad Gawain is. To put into perspective how down atrocious Gawain is as an honest human being, Donny, despite licking his lips, drooling at the mouth at the concept of Tristan getting his cheeks spread open, he's still better than Gawain in terms of down atrociousness. But he does go, not bad, Brizzy. I'm not in the dark with a woman this time of the night. Okay, I see you trying to get in where you can fit in, my boy. Okay, maybe you like that just a little bit. Maybe you ain't saying him. But we do get to see that for that insult on Lance's name and absolutely body bags. Like, she's straight. Like, notably, you see her in the panel looking at Donny, licking his lips, and then in the very next panel, you see Donny, like, he is walloped. Bro, it's so bad that Percy had to leave a mini Percy on him to heal him. Because, like, he is 2 bumps on the head, his cheeks are swollen. Like, bro got body. Like, that is actually vile. I cannot believe how 100% 12 out of 10 legitimately vile they did my boy. Like, jeez, there's no way Brody got done like that. Like, that is atrocious. That is bonkers. That is crazy how badly he got done. Like, he literally can't even say words anymore. Golly. However, they do agree to split up. They're gonna search for Tristan. Obviously, Tristan is pretty darn important. Like, there's no way you can lose one of the 4 knights like this, especially in a town like this. However, we do get to see, Dr. Strange, how? Like, dude is, like, notably, even in my physical prime, like, top tier, you take me to the most prime physical peak of my life. I don't think I could do what Hugo Strange is doing, especially at his size. Like, Brody is standing between 2 walls. He's literally just posted up there. Like, go to 2 nearby walls. Go to an alleyway in the dark at night. Don't do that. Do not do that. Do not. I know y'all barely listen to me anyway, but for the 2 people that were even considering it, do not go to a dark alleyway. But, like, go up in between a narrow space and just hold yourself there. Like, at least Derriere Light is, like, posted up on a railing. No, Macduff, the Doctor Strange himself, is posted up, arms crossed, in between 2 buildings. The leg strength, the foot strength, like, my ankles hurt for him. What the heck? He's got to be at least a cool 250 pounds on the low end. Bro is massive. He probably a cool 300 lean. And he just hold himself up like that. I get it. This is a world of magic and monsters and demons and goddesses and fairies and giants and beasts. But still, he's the real beast for being able to do that. And we see that Derriere Light or Anteniac is like, wait a second, what's going on? I can't even sense their magic when they're this close. And I get they're not the mightiest, but they should be able to be sensed. And we see that Doctor Strange, whose beard is not colored in, I just realized, he says, looks like some kind of power is at work that's interfering with the magic power in this town. But thanks to that, we can easily get close to them without drawing suspicion. Dude, you're literally, I guess, fun fact, people don't look up. You want to jump scare somebody? Be on a roof. I don't know how you're going to get on a roof. I have no idea how you're going to get on a roof. But if you really want to catch somebody off guard, people do not look up. I've noticed this because I didn't look up. Like, they weren't on a roof, but they were on a balcony. And they, like, yelled, and I literally freaked out because I just don't look up because we aren't trained to. Like, evolutionarily, we're like trained to like look to the left and right because like that's where predators were. I'm pretty sure like a lion would come out the clutch from your left or right. And also, but then again, now I think about it, there were a bunch of cats that lived up, but I guess we were up in trees at the time. I don't know. It's weird to think about, but cats do sit in trees and they could leap down. But I'm assuming we aren't trained to look up like biologically because the biggest thing that could have gotten us was something like a cat. And we were much more concerned about what was on the ground. Because, like, I don't think there was ever a bird that coexistently, that ran concurrently with humans that would have been big enough to, like, drop in and take us out. Like, I don't think we were ever we were never prey of hunter birds. I don't think so. Not to this day and not in the past. Sure, they may attack us anyway, but you try to fight a bald eagle. It'll hurt a lot, but usually you'll win if they even try to attack you. So I get why he says we can get close to them without drawing suspicion, but like, can you imagine looking up and you see this 350 burly built man posted up with the gains out on deck looking down on you? I'd run. Like, legitimately, I would just hit the max velocity. I've not done a 100-meter dash in years, but I would break the world record. Usain Bolt would have nothing on me if I saw Big Daddy McDuff posted up in the ceiling in between two buildings if I was walking down. That is crazy. And we see that Anteniac actually notices that they're going to split up. The knights and their group is separating. And notably, I actually really like their designs. Like, or no, not their design. Specifically, the leather gloves they're wearing and the leather coat. I really like it. I don't know. Nakaba rarely draws stuff like that. And I really like it. I don't know. It looks really, really cool. However, we do get to see that they are, in fact, splitting up. But, like, the most suboptimal splitting, like, legitimately, Anne and Isolde are going out together. And, I like, what happens if you run into anyone who's not fodder? Or like slightly above fodder. I don't know. Both of you kind of get GG'd. And then, I mean, a kind of optimal split is Donny, Percy, Chion, Nasiens, and Jade. Because you have Percy, you have a knight there with you, which is good enough. And I love how Donny, in the face of someone who mocked him before, it's like, well, you know, if you ask nicely, I guess we can help with your search. Maybe. And we see that Khan is like, please help me find my meat. And once again, I hope Chion gets some development. I am waiting for the Chion solo arc. Please, once again, I cannot doubt Nakaba. He's made me like characters that I thought I would never like. It made me feel bad for characters I thought I would never feel bad for. So I won't write Nakaba out of the runnings. But golly gee willikers, man, he has a lot of work to do with Chion. But we do get to see. And then Nasiens is like, okay, since we're all going to go searching, why don't we go search together? And Jade, who once again is looking at Isolde and Anne walk off, is like, yeah, that's fine. Sure, I guess I can search with you guys. Dog, that was your chance. While you're searching for Tristan, go run off. You don't have the meat muncher with you. You could have done. Maybe don't be like Gawain. Don't be like Gawain, Jade. So you know what? I guess Jade did the right thing, and we do get to see that such a weird connection between the two. But Lancelot and Gawain are like, I'm not doing this, dog. It is not that deep. Lance, a little bit wondering why you don't think it's that deep, but I guess he does reveal that he's mostly playing with them because he's like, I'm gonna head back to the inn in case they come back. And Gawain is like, I can't be bothered to go searching for men. I only want the finest, I'm not going to say, but you know what Gawain wants the most above all other things. And they both think at the same time, such a pain. This is a duo that I want to see more of, even though I don't think we'll see that much of it. Because they seem like characters who would mirror each other very, very well. However, we do get to see that with the fact that the group is dividing, McDuff is like, And once again, he's still posted up between these buildings, hitting the splits as he leans down and strokes his beard. Like, bro, not just the physical strength you need to do that, but the balance. Like, most people can barely stand on one leg. And here, McDuff is out here going crazy, posted up between two buildings and leaning back and forth. Like, dog, he is nuts. However, we do get to see that with this being the case and they're splitting up, and Anteniac's like, alright, bet if they're going to just divide themselves, they're going to be easier to conquer. I'll take care of them. Very excited to see which group she goes after first. Presumably she'd go after, if their main goal is to get rid of the knight, she's probably going to go after Percy's group first because, you know, it has a knight. And Tristan seems to be taken care of by somebody else at the moment, and they don't know where Tristan is, and they can't sense him right now. So most likely they're going to go up to Percival. I'm not sure if Arthur actually updated them on how strong Lance is, and whether or not they're confident in taking on Lance. So I highly doubt they go after Gawain and Lance, because that's a dangerous duo right there. And that mainly leaves just Isolde and Anne, but I don't know, unless you want to, I don't see the two love interests getting remotely close to being put in a pack, so I think they'll be fine. I really think it's Percy's group that's about to get jumped. However, we do get to see that as the night goes on, Lance, as they're walking back to the end, is like, hey, Gawain, do me a favor. Let's just set one thing straight. And Gawain doesn't even need a clarification on what that is, because she immediately noticed, you mean the strange feeling you've had since we've come to Walnock? And once again, it's very interesting, right? Because Gawain is perceptive. She is a good fighter. Well, maybe not a good fighter. You see what Pelgar did to her? Prove that she wasn't a good fighter. But she is very intuitive. It's just that she's so unbelievably thirsty all the time that it kind of falls away. However, we do get to see that Lance is like, you know what? Fine. Since you know, do me a favor. Can you cast the same spell you use, canceling the perfect cube on the whole town? Absolute cancel? To me, a spell of that level is mere child's play. Interesting. I wonder if she's bluffing there, or it is like just legitimate child's play. And if so, what isn't? Like, what's difficult for her to use? I wonder. Because, like, absolute cancel, if we're just like ranking the magical spells we'd seen throughout the original series, I'd say it's arguably like top 3, maybe top, like specifically just spells, not overall magics. I say there are a lot of magics better than absolute cancel because of what they can do for you. But like, in terms of just like spells that people can learn, absolute cancel is pretty bonkers. It's up there with like perfect cube in terms of insane utility no matter what you do with it. So interesting that Gawain says that's child's play, that's light work. Because with that being light work, what is it? Like what else does Gawain have in her kit? How bottomless is it right now? Because she should have a pretty extensive kit. However, we do get to see that despite it being child's play, it actually would make her tired, so she refuses. Interesting. So it seems like instead of her like necessarily running out of, but then again, she did kind of run out of magic. Every single time we've seen Gawain push to tiredness, or every time she's used a large spell or a large amount of magic, she usually passes out. Like, remember, after she used Sunshine Burst on Meliodas, she just dropped. And she implies that this would make her tired too. So I wonder if this is like another byproduct of her maybe not entirely natural creation, where instead of like, I don't know, perishing when she runs out of magic, in reality, she just goes to sleep, which allows her to restore her magic. Admittedly, it's nowhere near as broken as Infinity was. Like, the reason Infinity was so good is because Brolin could just spam things and never have to worry about magic drain. That's why she was the greatest sorceress in all Britannia, because like she could literally just do anything. I know I have to make an Infinity Explained video because I know people are going to be like, well, she doesn't actually have infinite magic. Explain Infinity Enhanced then. Tell me how she can just reach deeper into her pool of magic and pull out Infinity Enhance. The Infinity can do multiple things at once. But regardless, it's interesting. And we do get to see that Lance knows how to pull Gawain's strings so well, despite only meeting her, 2 days ago? 3 days ago? He immediately knows, pudding, my treat. And she's like, say no more. I'm assuming it may just because Lance can read her heart, but it's still amazing that Lance already knows how to manipulate her right out the gate, just like Tristan does. However, we actually do get the incantation for absolute cancel. Interesting. I wonder if she's going to be able to like cut down on incantation time. Notably, we see that Merlin doesn't always need incantations for certain things after she gets a higher mastery of her magic. Or really, I think she barely casts magic at all unless it's for like high level magic like time stop and stuff like that. And I don't think she really casted anything for absolute cancel. But these words that Gawain has to say before casting absolute cancel, I wonder if we're ever going to have to worry about her not needing those, or those are going to be like a hindrance in battle where she could use absolute cancel, but she just literally can't say it in time because it takes too many words, and thus she needs to learn to use the spells without it. Interesting. However, she does use absolute cancel, and suddenly what seems like a bubble pops around Walnock. We get this beautiful overhead shot of Walnock, and the bubble pops. However, with that being the case, suddenly every single being with the ability to sense magical powers senses magical powers. Lance's eyes sharpen, Iso looks around and gets the Nani Daisuke and Antonek also gets the magical, revelation. Reveal the magics. Macduff notices it. We get to see that Donny, Percival, Nasiens, and Chion notice it. Chion starts sweating, interestingly enough. We see Tristan notice it, and he's like, huh? This feeling. Is this everyone's magic power? Someone lifted the magic. Or the magical power that was cast upon the town. It's no use. Oh no, that's Io. She's like, someone lifted the magical power that was cast upon the town. But it's no use. And boom, the bubble's right back like Gawain never even casted it. And we see that the bubble comes from Io herself. She explains, jamming. As of now, my magical power nullifies all magical detection within Walnock. Interesting. So she has an AoE magic that negates magical sensory abilities. That would be good in combination with, I'm assuming, like smoke screens and stuff like that. On its own, I don't think it's too useful in a one-on-one fight, because, I mean, I guess if you want to hide how strong you are to your opponent to get them off guard, like if they can't sense anything, they may assume you're just extremely weak. So then you could sneak them and do a lot of damage. But in a 1v1 fight, it wouldn't be a magic I necessarily wanted, though it is very good for espionage and invasion. So I understand why someone like Io would be sent on a mission like this to infiltrate a human town and do certain things. And overall, I kind of am intrigued to see the upper limits of this magic. She's able to do it over all of Walnock at the same time, but like if you were to give this to someone like Lance, how much range does it have? Does it have a set range inherently with the magic, or if you were able to throw more magical power into it, could you hypothetically get more results? Oh no, very, very interesting. Up in the air. Though this is actually low-key kind of a buff for Absolute Cancel, because this reveals that innate magical powers can be negated by Absolute Cancel. If you look at the original series, Absolute Cancel is never actually used to shut down anyone's native ability. Like, not even the Demon King's magic was shut down by Absolute Cancel. It was shut down by Kill Switch, which was Gother's magic. But no, you can actually use Absolute Cancel to just turn off someone's ability, which is something that makes Merlin versus Gojo way easier for me. So hallelujah. But regardless, that is cool to see that in this scenario, you can use Absolute Cancel on interpersonal magic or personal magics, which means that even if someone has a really strong personal broken magic, Gawain and or Merlin can just say, nope, and then bada bing, bada boom, you can't use that magic anymore, which is really, really cool. And we see that Io, I was about to call her Antoniak, Io is like, within such a momentary interval, even your allies cannot grasp your location, at least not completely. And we see that Tristan's like, oh, okay, so as long as you're still here and casting that magic, I won't be able to reach my friends. So all I need to do is take you down. And we see that finally, Io's like, I still haven't answered your question from before on whether or not I'm on Camelot's side or not. But let me inform you something even more interesting, O mighty Prince of Leonis. I am not on Camelot's side, but neither am I human. And we see as her clothes tear off, she is a demon? Question mark? Explanation point? Confusion? That's what Tristan calls her. He posts up with his blade, which is that Mael? Is that Mael? It looks really, really interesting. It has a winged hilt and everything. Cool. However, we see that he's like, a demon! And we see that the question the chapter ends on is, what does the unreadable Io want? And the next chapter is assassins in the night. However, a thing about Io is, now, I may just be theorizing, she doesn't actually look like any demon we've seen. In fact, I may be gassing it, so don't get me wrong. But don't her wings low-key look kind of goddess-like? Like, we know that demons can be born with wings. The gray demons are born with wings. So it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that she is just a demon with wings. But interesting. I wonder if she is just a pure demon. And if so, what's she doing here? Presumably Zeldris is still the king of the demon world. And unless there's like a faction that still supports the Demon King, like a faction that even though he's gone, they don't like Zeldris' rule, and they would want to get revenge on the people who took the Demon King away, such as the royal family of Leonis, what now is the royal family of Leonis, and taking and or attacking their son. That seems pretty interesting. And notably, despite being a demon, Tristan doesn't seem to recognize her at all, or recognize what type of demon she is, which means that Tristan wouldn't have interacted with her before on any of his visits to the demon world, if he's ever been to the demon world. That's another question. We don't know Tristan's like travel history. We do not have his passport. We cannot see all the little stamps that show where he's been. We don't know that. So it's interesting to see that Io is now here. She is a demon, and her magical power is jamming. I know some of y'all are so down atrocious that y'all would hit that, but still, just think freely. Don't do it, dog. Just don't do it. You see those hands? Do you see the veins? Everything. It's not worth it. However, overall, a really, really, really good chapter. I think the chapter works on multiple fronts. One, it gives us more in-depth world building. It really gives us a deeper understanding of the Festival of the Dead, what it means to certain people, how it affects certain individuals, all that. Really, really good. I love me some solid, nice, meaty, juicy world building, and this is it. We get to see a lot of our characters and how far they've come in terms of just their general progress, in terms of Donny and becoming a holy knight, in terms of how they feel about their loved ones that they've lost, such as Anne with her mother, Donny with his mother, Percival with his grandfather. That's all really, really good. We get to see nasiens and get more like pseudo kind of sort of build up around what he really is or where he really comes from and stuff like that. That's interesting. It's a plot thread that hasn't been mentioned in a while, but it is there, and we do mention it here. We get a meat joke, which is always appreciated. We get to see that, well, realistically, Antoniak and Macduff, they're about to make their move properly, which is going to be interesting to see. I wonder if they're going to have to deal with any of the repercussions of suddenly having their magic sense, whether or not they were suppressing themselves or not. We also obviously get to see a new application for Absolute Cancel, and to see the massive range of it, which is really crazy to think about. And also we get the reveal of Io being Io for one, and two, being a demon or possibly a Nephilim of some sort. Overall, oh, really, really good chapter. A solid 10 out of 10, if I do say so myself. However, that's what I think. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon below. You support as low as $1. Download links to some videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off.